My name is Mozuku, and I am one of Sokuzan's monks. Sokuzan's teachings and this community depend on your generosity, both through your participation and financially. If you value these teachings and this community, please consider donating on our website at sokukoji.org. Thank you so much.
So the title of this Dharma talk today is Elephants in the Room. And the reason I'm using that title is I'm going to talk about a few things that have been very difficult for people. And I would like your questions if you have them, and please don't hesitate. I certainly won't hesitate. But I'm also not going to discuss things that are none of anybody's business. Now, person in a public situation like I am, you're going to probably think a lot of things are your business that I'm up to. And you could be right. I don't know. I've had a lot of heavy judgment come on this old man. When I say old, that's not an exaggeration. At some point, you stop saying I'm getting old and you realize you've gotten old. You're no longer getting anywhere. You're done for, kind of. So, just to go back a little bit, it's been a difficult path for me my whole life. I don't need to sit here and give you some kind of autobiography. It's just been hard in lots of ways. I'm not going to go into those. It's difficult. I was very lucky to meet my first teacher, Chogyam Trungpa, who helped me see that I could actually look at what was arising in my mind instead of fighting with it. I could actually look at it, not accept it. He never said that. But just if it's showing up in your mind, it's yours. It's your consciousness, not ego, but it's your mind. And if something happens over here that moves this way, and that causes something in your mind to come up, to show up, you cannot blame that for it. If this path isn't about anything else, it's other than no blame. There is no blame for anything. I don't care how much it looks like this caused that. And did it cause that? Relatively, yes, but that's only a very small piece of celluloid in front of the lens. Very small shot of the entirety of the thing. Because you are consciousness, you have the opportunity to see this in its entirety. I'm inviting you to do that. But people tend to believe their thoughts and their emotions. Most of the world is run by people who believe their thoughts, believe their conclusions, believe their opinions, convictions, anything their culture is telling them, or maybe something their culture is telling them that they disbelieve and they run away from and they become criminals. Or maybe that's part of the culture, is the criminal culture. I don't know. But belief. It will destroy you. It'll destroy your family. It'll destroy the people you love. Don't believe me, but you might want to consider it. I don't have too much time. I'm old, so it won't be here too much longer. But you may have lots of years left. Take advantage of your situation of being free and well favored, free to come to such a meeting as this that is not particularly political, which you make it so. And well favored in that you, hopefully, you're not filled up with a bunch of preconceptions, opinions, judgments, evaluations that prevent you from seeing the truth. This is a spiritual path. This is not a mundane path of dividing out right from wrong. The whole world is trying to do that, if you haven't noticed. There are people killing and murdering and torturing people based on what they think is right. Not so good. But that particular landslide of culture has been going on for centuries. You cannot step in, if you've heard me, as you have heard me say before, with a protest sign, and other than make yourself feel good because at least you're protesting. But you can't really affect that. How can you affect that? Find out who you are. Don't get your identity from anyone but your own consciousness. And this does not mean believe your thoughts. My Dharma heir, this is part of the elephant that's in the room. My Dharma heir, Ho Yuji Chiezan, which is a name I gave him many years ago, just came in front of me in the hojo, or my office, and told me that he was all done with me. And he was very polite. He was very even sweet about it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your help and so on. So he's very kind. But he has not been talking to me for a year and a half to 2 years about what's happening in his mind. Any kind of meeting I've had with him, how is it going? Okay, not so bad. Okay, good. Have nothing to say, and maybe a little smile. Nothing. Even though I know he has complaints, now I'm finding out that he's doing what he's accused me of, gossiping, telling other people why he's leaving. I've not heard that. And you may, if you're one of the people he's talking to, he may be telling you very specifically, but he's not telling me. He's just left me. He's my Dharma here. He's the only person I've given a brown robe to, transmitted. Not because he was enlightened, but because of his intelligence and his ability to possibly understand this incredible teaching of the Buddha's Dharma, 2,500 years of it, and to maybe save all beings, help others, put others before himself. Well, he started in by putting himself, right the other day, himself before me, his own emotions and feelings and so on. Did he do something wrong? Well, relatively nothing is wrong. Of course, he doesn't like me. I'm absent-minded. I'm old. I'm feisty. I argue with him. Even when he's right, sometimes I argue with him. I'm always a teacher. You get near me and it's not going to be comfortable because I'm looking right at your neurosis. And if you give me permission, which he did, or I thought he did, when I would see that pride start to show up on that screen, I would go in and point it out very gently. At least I thought it was pretty gentle. And yell at him. Well, I guess I did yell at him. But he's told someone else, apparently through the rumor mill, that it's not because I've been mean. It's because of my, I guess, my relationship to my Jisha, which is too intimate for him. It's none of his business what my relationship is to any of my students, including you, or you, or you, or you. It's no, my relationship to each person is completely unique and different. You have any complaints? You should be telling me, not gossiping to other people about how evil I am. Elephants in the room. I've not done this publicly at all because I didn't think it was necessary. Now I think it's very necessary. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to be 84 in April. I'm not sure if this monastery is going to hold together. I don't know if it would have held together with him if I died next week and he took over everything. Since he has specific people in here he does not like, and he's not able to help them because he thinks they're wrong. Am I right about that? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't think that. But he's not very friendly with them. And he stays away from them and judges them. You know what I'm talking about. Every one of you know that know him or know this situation. Very difficult to relate to somebody who's having a lot of trouble running in circles and fighting on themselves and fighting with their world, and try to give them the benefit of the doubt and fundamentally help them where they're at. But you can't fight with them, argue with them, or shut them down necessarily and help them. A year ago, he stopped. I'm not going to sit here and complain about him. He did the best he could to work with himself, work with his emotions. Went out to California and studied under another teacher for a while. Came back, and now his wife, Senchu, who's also a student of mine, is also a fully ordained monk. She also has, at least temporarily, broken her ties with me. So and I would say, if you ask him why, I really wonder just exactly what he's going to generate other than how he feels about it. Does he feel bad? Probably does. We had a strong connection. I have several children, 4 boys and a girl, all full-grown adults. My connection with them, of course, is very close and loving, and my children, but my connection with him was outrageously close. That's why it's so painful. It's not like to have my son leave me. He just did that. He might as well have kicked me in the teeth for how it feels. But I don't believe my feelings or my thoughts. If I did, I would fight with him. And I would accuse him of being wrong. He is not wrong. He's doing the best he can with what he knows to deal with his suffering, with a conflict in his mind. The conflicting emotions in the mind just got too intense. He could not bring them to the teacher so the teacher could help him with it. He just didn't really trust the teacher anymore, hasn't for probably a year and a half to 2 years. Our interviews were all pretty silent. All I could see was pride in front of me. And I don't really have any permission to poke him anymore. So I kind of stopped, I guess. Or maybe I didn't stop. I don't know. It's very painful. What am I going to do now about my Dharma error? I guess I'm going to have to look around. I have a lot of students that are very dedicated to this path and seem to be very devoted or dedicated to this teacher. Doesn't mean you believe me. This is not a cult. I mean, for it's just for me to say that, that's what a cult leader would say. It's not a cult. Sato, what do you think? Is this a cult?
No.
No. If it were a cult, what would I be saying? I wouldn't be saying this. Would I be saying something else?
I think you would have fought more to keep anybody from leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of helped him leave, just like I helped Kozan leave. People may need to leave. It's hard. It's a very, very hard path. Heartbreakingly hard. But it's a spiritual path, and we're bringing our consciousness lifetime after lifetime to this. You may not remember a past life, but you can't remember what happened 3 weeks ago either, so. I could probably say more about it. I think that's one big elephant. I think I got elephants I'm missing. There's a couple of them. My relationship to my Jisha, she's sitting over there, who was also a fully ordained monk, who was highly dedicated and devoted to me, as was Jezan, and as is many other monks that are in here are very committed to this path, and people who are just lay ordained or aren't ordained at all. It's not a requirement. But my main intention here is to help you see the truth of your consciousness before your body, which you might think is who you are, goes away, because that which you actually are is not going anywhere. It's called a spiritual path, and you're nothing but spirit. Questions? Yes.
Yoke bowing. Do elephants in the room need to become elephants in the room? Is there something we can do before that happens?
I don't know. Maybe. Other teachers, my first teacher didn't talk about any of the elephants in the room much at all. You think I'm outrageous or crazy? Should have met him. Very famous, crazy wisdom teacher. Crazy wisdom. To somebody said, well, that's just he just uses that so he can molest people or whatever they might say. Any kind of projection onto the whole thing. All I know is he saved my life. For what it's worth, I'm still here. I was ready to end this terrible feeling every day. So I don't know. I'm just using that as a title because it's like something we usually don't talk about. I think we should bring it out and talk about all this. Ondo.
Ondabine, I think another elephant in the room is what do we do as students of yours when the 3 people who have been students of yours the longest have left you or threatened to leave you because they don't like your teaching?
I don't know. Good point. How does it look to you?
Ondabine, to me, that's a large elephant in the room.
It is. Why would somebody who's been a student for a long time, as long as Chazan has, and is apparently from all outward signs, apparently very devoted. I mean, this guy's just done everything for me for 12, 14 years. I haven't counted the years, but he has been. So I'm totally grateful for all the help that he's giving me and given to the Unyo. Been so very, very supportive. It's just that he's not a servant of mine. My intention with him is to help him, or was. No, I'm done. He could probably come back and do something about it, but that's unlikely. He'll continue to go whatever direction he wants to go. More, please.
Devon, are we all headed in this direction? Is this what happens at the year 10 following?
Year 10?
Yeah, 10,
I
11,
don't know,
12?
you're getting ready to leave?
No. But I'm wondering if this is what the 3 students that have been with you the longest.
I don't know, you can make some assumptions about that. Anything else to say about it or ask? I have no idea. I know that the chemistry with those people is quite different, has some similarities, but quite different. Well. Yes, yes.
Devon, I think one of the criticisms of you has been yelling at students, and I've been reading ancient Chinese masters who hit their students and yelled at them. And I'm wondering is there any kindness in that? Is that still a valid teaching for today?
If I hit you? If I hit anybody in here? Well, as far as I know, I never hit him either. He threatened me. Smashed my tabletop with his fist. My previous student, Sokuzan, that's another elephant. I never talked about her situation. She just got madder and madder and madder because I kept going after her pride. The final, and I'm not just using Padmasambhava to back up anything I say, but the most difficult area of self-centeredness is pride. And that's usually the final barrier to seeing who this is. And she was full of it, still is probably. There's also a wonderful woman, a great, strong practitioner. I'm sure she's helping people based on how she sees it. She doesn't see it the same way I do. And she told me that. That's the closest I could get. I kept saying, what's the difference? How do you see it? She wouldn't tell me. And finally I said, would you ask, if you want to leave me, you can just ask me and I'll release you. She says, I'd like to leave. And I said, you're released. Good luck to you. So, but one time I was poking at her, no sense of humor at all. Just all serious. I was poking at her. You were there that day. What did I say to her? Quote me. Recall, and I doubt if you were to put her on the spot because her rage was so intense, she would not be able to recall because it is something triggers the thing that is yours, that is in her consciousness, not mine. I love her, I still do, care about her. But I can't help someone who wants to fight with me like a 9-year-old. So I let her go. She went. But she was just like this right in front of me with her fist. Remember that? And all I'm doing is backing up. And what I said before then was pointing at her extreme self-centeredness, trying to help her. But she would have to be on receive, just like with my teachers. They both pointed to that. And it was very painful, difficult to have someone point out that you are full of yourself. You're completely neurotic. You're totally in love with yourself. And you don't care about anybody but you. That's what was pointed out by Coben to me many, many years ago. It took me 10 years to realize what he was pointing at. By the time I realized that, he was dead. Does that mean that, oh, Jason, a few real years from now, we'll realize maybe not. Maybe he'll think he's correct and right about this from now on and think that his teacher is a bad guy or someone who manipulates people or whatever, or ignores him or doesn't give him enough attention or not the right kind of attention. I don't know. I mean, you would have to talk to him about it. And apparently he's not talking to me, but he's talking to a lot of other people. And slowly the gossip gets back. Well, now we know, maybe there's people on here that he's already talked to, that he's told them why he left me, because he's never told me. He just told me he was leaving. He was kind enough to ask for my blessing. And of course, being a good civil servant, you have my blessing. Good luck to you. Wouldn't do it any other way. Further question? Yes.
Not to me,
Not to me.
How does living in your worst fears, how does that relate to liberating all?
If you can live in your worst fears, then you're not blaming anybody for anything. But just the elephant in the room is I've just been blamed somebody to the degree that I gave him everything I could to support him. He's the only one I transmitted. And instead of receiving his emotions and his thoughts, he wants to blame me for how he feels so that he can leave me. And you, you're asking me the question, you're probably doing it. If anytime you separate anything from anything else, this is the very nature of confusion. The very nature of it. I mean this literally. Nothing is separate from anything else. But if you're afraid of something, or if you're tortured by something, you'll divide things up. It's called prejudice and narcissism. You and I have talked about this a little bit in the past. All activity is sexual. Every single bit of it. If you divide them out and say some is and some isn't, you're full of shit. Go ahead and keep dividing yourself up into pieces and then live your life in chunks. Miss your life. Don't do it. Don't separate anything out. If the fear rises up, like Natsume's asking about, eat it, smell it, taste it, feel it. Let it take you over. It's a spiritual path. It's not the mundane path of keeping away the bad guys and getting all the good stuff. You have to realize it. And it has to go all the way to the bottom of your being, all the way to the center of the earth. I'm not talking about some kind of romantic emotionalism. If I were doing that, I would start writing novels like Stephen King's novel, The Gunslinger. Don't forget the face of your father. Watch the movie or read the book. Yes, sir.
Joe Valley, did you just say that all activity is sexual?
Yes.
Can you say what that means?
Where do you think these children came from? Just one little situation where people's genitals came together? Oh. It's outrageously powerful. This is why the ancients saw this and didn't know how to convey it, because the ideas against sex and against this and against that and against, and trying to control everything. Even celibacy is totally nuts. It's just a crazy thing to do to anyone. But in ancient times, it seemed to be necessary. I'm not up here telling jokes, and I'm not up here making political statements you need to agree with. Don't agree with anything I say. I never ask you to agree. If someone said, do you agree with Sokuzan? Don't be disrespectful to me and say you agree with Sokuzan. Dumbass. Look at it yourself. See it yourself, so you know what this is yourself. You don't have a bunch of opinions all around here that you're picking one. You find out what it is, so it breaks your heart, because it will.
Can we leave the teacher for our idea of the path?
Of course. We do it every day, but you can return. This is what this Ango is about. Return to the wall. Return to your own consciousness. Return to the teacher. Return to the teaching. Return to the community. And your particular path may be a very, very strong intellectual conceptual approach. Your path may be very emotional or devotional, or as they say in the India, bhakti. You may need that kind. Each person is different. People need to approach this in different ways. Sometimes it's combinations of things. More?
Joe Bowing. Just the two situations, this is my perception of it with Kozan and Chazon when I had talked to them around.
Yes.
Again, they didn't say this, but it just seemed like they were really happy that they at least had a practice like that the practice of meditation had become some safety thing that they could do that and just ignore you because they at least got the practice from you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that happening?
It's bullshit. I'm not saying they can't sit still and look at the wall, but what is it that's looking at the wall? A condensation of ideas and beliefs and opinions about who they are, and if they're still a meditator, they can still be a monk, but they just left the teacher. And without the teacher, there's no path. And I'm not saying that you can't awaken on your own, but you'll notice anybody who has been a self-realized person, like Ramana Maharshi, or even to go to someone more in our cultural milieu, like Byron Katie or something like that, they still need to return to some kind of basic understanding, basic awareness practice. There's probably going to be a teacher there somewhere. But someone like Byron Katie, everyone she met was her teacher. But that's because she was spontaneously realized. She didn't realize out of a working at training her minds. It just happened to her spontaneously in a recovery center when a cockroach crawled across her leg. Yes.
Shadow bowing. So in that sense, is there a difference between realizing outside of a path when you were never in one and then leaving a path and trying to realize still?
What do you think? You just explained the whole thing right there. As long as you are attached to, believe in, are tied up in belief and opinion and disbelief or ignorance, then you'll continue to try to figure that out. But if you see there isn't a past, if you see there isn't a future, then you'll also understand that even this present moment is what? An illusion. And people will listen to me and wherever they're at, out in TV land or on YouTube or someplace else in Eastern Europe or whatever, may hear something I say and say, well, that's just a person justifying what they want to do and who they want to abuse and all of that. We had it right in our community. I've been accused of abuse right here with some of no proof at all, just inventing things out of their mind stream. Absolutely no proof that I had harmed or hurt anyone anywhere. More? Anything?
You Bowing, can we ever really leave the teacher, or are we just leaving our idea of the teacher?
It could be any number of things like that. Every person here, any person on here that I've talked to, either face to face in person or on Zoom, have a completely different situation. I do my best to meet you in whatever it is you're dealing with your particular mind stream and whatever you consider to be real or unreal, whatever you consider to be your neurosis or your lack of a neurosis or your clarity or lack of clarity. Those are not two different things to me, but they probably are to you. If you're grasping something or if you're pushing something away, you're differentiating between your sanity and your insanity. If you do that, you continue to spin because everything seems like right and wrong, should be, shouldn't be, shouldn't be, should be. We believe our thoughts. But sometimes we believe our thoughts so intensely that we want to hurt somebody. We want revenge to prove that we're right. We may even want to do it this direction. That whole energy of aggression going out towards others can just suddenly snap and go the other way. Next thing you know, we want to get rid of ourselves. We might not have a storyline that is continuous there, but it's there. Anyone on Zoom like to join in with this happenstance?
Peter Bowing.
That's Peter.
Are consciousness and awareness the same thing?
So good question. My way of talking about it, we just need concepts. We know what awareness is, that we know that this is a kotsu or a stick, and this is a hand, this is a voice, this is a person, and all of those things come together to create a particular instance that appears in the illusion of time, and called the present moment. So here this is showing up. And we are, without even trying, we are aware of this movement. We're aware of the hand movement or so on. We're aware of that, but in a sense, in another sense, we're more just conscious of the whole thing. And that part of the consciousness may gather together around an object. So we call that the awareness of the object. Whereas actually something could happen behind me over here that would be in consciousness, but would not be in the awareness part of it. But if it's something behind me, like if a bird flew in the window, which is very unlikely, but it could. If it did, then suddenly that would be the awareness of this would drop away because it gathers its own situation situationally. It gathers its own specificity of awareness individually based on what's there. And so, do you follow me a little bit? I mean, there's a consciousness everywhere. You're not really ignoring much until you focus on. If I focus on this, then I ignore everything else. So I'm aware of this, But consciousness has come to a very low frequency over here where we don't see much, or at least we don't gather it. But it's been proven, I think maybe you've heard of this. If someone is hypnotized, they really don't miss anything. You can take someone back with hypnosis into something that happened 30 years ago and find something they can't consciously remember, but it's still there in what we would refer to as the alaya jnana in the tradition, Sanskrit for storehouse consciousness. So it's very difficult conceptually for us to access this in such a way that it satisfies our linear way of thinking about right and wrong, should be, shouldn't be, existent, non-existent, all the polarities. But it makes a lot of, using another relative term, sense in the overall picture, of the larger picture of this thing, the idea of consciousness only. Slowly, as one practices the Dharma, at least as I understand it, one is making a transition from thinking and from concluding there's some kind of person who's aware over to just awareness or consciousness only. So there is no individual anymore. So therefore, the whole picking and choosing thing that most of the world is addicted to and is confused by conflicting emotions about the nature of everything, that starts to come apart. And to ego, that is devastating. It can be so frightening that you'll leave the Dharma. Not that someone leaving me is doing something wrong. No, maybe I'm not the Dharma. Maybe this is a bad Dharma teacher, and there's only a few people I've got hoodwinked and confused that when I'm saying it has some value. So I'm just taking their money right and left. So possibly, but it doesn't look that way. It looks like what I intend to do, what I intend to help people with, is very sincere to me, and there's not much that's going to get in my way or stop me. Even my own fear won't get in the way, or my own sadness, or my own heartbreak will not get in the way of this, because I know people are suffering. I know the people that are being very cruel and mean to this person are not doing it because they're trying to be cruel and mean, but because they're suffering so much. And one of the ways you get rid of your suffering is to blame. It doesn't have to be even correct. It helps if you can talk to 15, 20 people and they all kind of agree, yeah, he is doing that or he is doing that. You can gossip about it a little bit. But I would say, don't believe your thoughts. Don't believe your thoughts. Don't believe your emotions. Don't believe anything. And the other part is don't disbelieve anything. Do nothing with what arises. If you do anything with what arises, you are trapped by relative truth and you're going down. I'm not saying you won't come back. Everybody comes out of hell eventually. It gets hot enough. Everybody comes out of the heaven realm enough when it gets too staid and shut down, and even the brightness is boring. Maybe you end up in the human realm where you might have enough curiosity to actually be wondering what in the hell this is. You want to know what this is? I can help you. I can't do it for you, but I can tell you how to see it. I've been doing this for over half a century with the help of two powerful Dharma teachers. I'm very lucky that way. Yes.
Wonderfine. In terms of cult, how is publicly talking about former students not public shaming?
Not public shaming. I'm not sure what you mean by you're a therapist, so you're using some highly technical words there. Public shaming.
I would think an element of a cult is to talk about former students and how they
Shame
were.
them.
Yeah.
Well, what can I do to address that in a more less blaming way, other than to say they're trusting their feelings, their emotions? It's difficult. I'm not saying what they're doing is something wrong, but what else could I do? Did I say, could I go the other way and say, yeah, they have a point there. I should just stop being a teacher, just like the other person was here a few weeks ago said that I should be removed. We should get another teacher in here altogether because of the way I've been acting. But what he said I was doing, I was not doing, and it was all speculation. I was not doing any of the things. A dozen of you were here. I didn't hear anybody defend me. But you know it wasn't true. You know what he was saying was not true. So what do you do? I mean, when that happened, I tried to ask somebody next to me. I think it was Bobby. Asked, how does that look to you? And that person did not want me to talk and yelled at me and said, there you go, putting people on the spot, and like a cult leader would do or something like that. So what did I do? I just stopped and then let him take over the whole meeting, basically. So if you want this to come apart, my friends, including those of you on Zoom, if you want this to come apart, then leave your thoughts, because there are plenty of them out there. As far as I'm concerned, this is a place to train your mind, not even to become a Buddhist. If you come here and sit down and look at this wall, as far as I'm concerned, that's what you want. That's what I want you to do. I want you to see who you are. You don't have to receive vows. You don't have to, you have to be a student of mine temporarily, just as long as you're in the building. In other words, that just means sit over there and not over there. As simple as that, but not believe my thoughts or my judgments or my whatever. More about that. Let's hear about that public shaming stuff.
Wonderful. I'm just wondering how you talk about elephants in the room and not look like you're,
Creating elephants.
trying to control people by
What?
saying, if you do this, this is how you're gonna be talked about.
Well, give me an idea, give me some help here. How else could I do it? I have someone who comes, presents himself. Yes, I want to be your student. And I said, okay. And when anybody who's become a student of mine knows that I say, give me, you don't believe what I say, but give me the benefit of the doubt. Consider what I'm saying. I'm not going to give you direct orders to do anything. Help me if you can, in whatever way you can. Practice a lot. No requirement to sew a rock suit or become a monk. Just, I want you to sit in front. That's why we're doing this for a whole month. This is not because we're making money doing this. We barely charge enough of a fee to even pay the rent. That's a big problem for us, is just bills. So, but I'm saying if somebody comes this way, dedicates themselves to this, and takes refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha, and then just won't tell me what's happening with them. Neither one of these two people would tell me what was happening with them, but they tell other people. In both cases, there was gossiping going on about being senile, of me having a sexual addiction. No proof. This is speculation. These people aren't even therapists. Where is there proof that I have a sexual addiction? How can I not be a little defensive about that? I mean, it's just, that's just speculation, just throwing things out there. See if something will stick. Painful. But I know that people are confused. I know I'm confused. That's how I know about this whole thing. So help me a little bit further with this, how I can work with that in a way that may be more skillful based on what you're seeing.
Well, Divine, what came up for me when you were just talking was Shambhala in the 70s and 80s was just nothing but alcohol, drugs, sex, orgies.
Are we doing alcohol, sex, and drugs here?
Well, I'm just wondering if we
Now, should I be, go ahead. I'm interrupting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
are we in just a different era where there's different societal mores?
Well, you're asking a question. I don't know. What you were saying is I'm cult-like, I guess, because I'm shaming. I don't know how I'm shaming, other than saying I feel like both of those people didn't understand what it was I was trying to help them with, and so maybe is it like I'm making them wrong? No, I'm also saying they just did the best they could with their life. They can't, just because I say don't believe your feelings and thoughts. One of the ways you work with that is through awareness practice, seeing how you can't stop that. And the reason you can't stop that is because that is ego. But the only inroad to get to the ego is to show the ego that it does not have control. If you think you control anything, you are incorrect. You can't control the illusion of being able to do this and not do that, or raise this up or lower this. It's a powerful illusion. You have no say-so about anything. Realize your true nature. If it looks like I'm an old man who is full of himself and is in control of everything, I'm just karma showing up as an old person. It's not a justification. This is just dependent origination. The personality is still here, but it's transparent. Otherwise, I would be running out of here. I would be moving to Vermont, someplace, and get away from all you hoodlums. I mean, I want to help you, but I can't do it without your permission. I've even said many times, if you need to leave, leave. I'm not making you leave. But I'm saying if you need to go somewhere else and do something else with your life because this looks strange or obscure, or looks like I'm controlling you, or maybe you have to do that. I don't know. Not to me.
Not see me bowing. What is the love that you give to all beings?
It's without a giver. It's without a receiver. It has no direction, and it doesn't move at all. Thank you for the question. I can't say that without the question. It has no movement in time or space. It's transcendent. It's eternal. There's no credit. You cannot get credit. You can't get credit for being a wonderful lover, nor be a kind, loving, generous person full of compassion. It doesn't have a reference point as someone being compassionate or being loving. That's ego. And that's very powerful in our society. Success and failure, right and wrong, culprit or saint. Those are all powerful dynamics that are not separate from each other. Did I get close to what you're looking for?
Thank you for
You can't locate something that you are, but you can cover it up. You can't be in this room unless the Buddha is here also. You can't be here without that. Don't cover it up. Stop covering it up. And the way you do that is what? Is to see the degree to which you cover things up. You can spend years, months, days, weeks, minutes, and centuries covering up things. It's been going on forever, and it will probably continue. We all have our own landslide in our minds. Shisho.
Shishabhai, how did your two teachers deal with their close students leaving, if at all they did? Bye.
I'm sure they did. I think with Trungpa, I don't know if he noticed so much, but he had very close students. One of his closest students was John Perks. Another one was David Rome. Ursula Tenzin actually left him in a certain kind of way just by getting a disease and by creating terrible social havoc by his sexual interaction with students. But Trungpa Rinpoche was also, he was just crazy. If you can get close to anything that's very personal stuff about him, you find out he was crazy. He has no guidelines for him at all, other than if you met him. Other than if you met him, which I did. As far as Kobun's name was Oun, which is a phoenix cloud, and he was like that. You couldn't find him anywhere. Even his closest students didn't know where he was at. He would hide. He would hide in the woods. Well, there's an old story of him having an interview with somebody in a room, and this person was having all kinds of chaos and so on. If you heard that story, start to laugh in advance.
Yeah, this is funny. The image of him hiding in the woods.
It's what?
This is funny. The image of like this Roshi hiding in the woods.
Yeah, he would hide in the woods and smoke cigarettes. Probably not very many. They only smoked one or two. But this one time he was with somebody that, as the story goes, I wasn't there, having some difficulty talking to the person, and they were laying down all of their issues and problems. And he, of course, if you knew Kobun or met him, he just was very, he just listened and listened and listened. And, he was like a feather. And he he got up and said, "Excuse me a minute," and went into another room and the bathroom. And he was in there for quite a long time, and the fellow started to wonder what was happening. Went there, and the window was open. He's gone out the window. Is that a teaching? If it's a teacher, yes. If there's a student there, that's the most important thing. It has to be a student. Yeah, and that's very hard when ego mind is telling you, I'm not going to accept this crap from this teacher's trying to manipulate me or control me or get in my pants. You need to be responsible for your feelings and emotions, not blame others for it. Be responsible. That just means what? Respond. In other words, receive what shows up in the mind stream. Don't leave what shows up in the mind stream for who caused it, even though you can.
Shadow bowing. How is the help from a bodhisattva, like the bodhisattva ideal, different from like helping poor animals or poor people?
Bodhisattva ideal is you mind your own business. You don't even know someone. If someone is actually a high level bodhisattva, you won't even know it. I know. I met a few. I didn't know about it until long afterwards.
Hogan bowing. There are sanghas in which there's segregation of sexes, where monks are talking in a limited way. They don't own anything, they have no money. How is this sangha in which we are witnessing others' negativity, how is that supportive of this spiritual path?
We're in a particular society, a particular culture. This is the order of immediate light, Tibetan tradition. Zen tradition, as I received it from those two teachers, comes through this teacher. Insofar as I have students, this is the teacher. I don't call myself a teacher unless you do. You all go another direction, I'll say goodbye. But as far as to get close to what you seem to be asking about, it's just the culture we're in. That's why we have children. And I don't want a monastery with a celibate. I also don't want a monastery where people are jumping from one bed to the next, which I've tried to do something about by the forums here. If you're living in this monastery, you can have a relationship with someone else. I want to be included, not because I'm a voyeur, but because I just want to make sure that there's some kind of consciousness throughout the community of what's happening in relationships. You know, as well as anybody here, how difficult relationships can be, and they make no sense. If you go to any relationship you've had the last 20 years, if you think it makes sense, wait around for a while. And am I threatening something? Saying no, but you have no say-so about that. There's no guarantee that what looks like a God realm is going to continue. It'll have its own terminators. It'll have its own ways of expunging something that arose here. It'll have its own way of modifying the shape of this into the shape of something else. You have no say-so about that, but you do have something you can do. You can be aware of it. If you're vividly aware of what is arising in time and space as the illusion of otherness, then if there's an opportunity for you to fundamentally reach, so-called, reach into another situation, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a student of yours, or whether it's a teacher, or whatever it is, you'll do that with complete respect to what appears as confusion. You won't interfere with it to try to fix everything. If you think something is wrong, this is the very nature of confusion. It's the very nature of ignorance, the very nature of passion, aggression, ignorance. More?
Hogan bowing. There may not be something wrong, but it appears there's a lot more noise occurring in the mind when the sangha is chaotic and
Yes.
loud. How is not isolating oneself more and working with the negativity that's arising in the mind? How is that not more supportive to a practice than living in a warfare zone?
Well, we do both. Look what we're doing here. We have, what is this, our second day of 28 days, or whatever we're doing. Anybody here who's part of the Sangha, if they're in this building, they need to be facing a wall. And I do the same thing. I sit in here as much as I can with my considerations. I'm sitting here and doing it with you. I'm doing that. I'm doing that because I want to do it by example. I want to say, I'm going to sit here and do what I'm asking you to do. Neither one of my teachers did that I ever saw. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't, but I didn't see much of it. I watched Trungpa Rinpoche sit once for half an hour. But they also just spent their whole life doing that. So yes, we're going to sit some. We'll eat lunch together. We'll have community meetings or have monk meetings or have book studies. We'll talk about the Dharma a lot, but I spend as much time talking about the Dharma as it comes down to us through the centuries conceptually. But also deal with, I know what kind of things you're talking about, but just do the best we can. It's very important to CCC. And if your only CCC is to not talk to the people involved, but to gossip with others about it, it's not going to be too workable. It might be more comfortable to just talk so-called behind people's back. That's why bringing elephants into the room, I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. It doesn't always feel real good to do this.
I made
Yes.
a statement.
Yes, sir. I'd like a question. Do you have a question?
Well, I guess,
If you don't have a question, I'll take your statement, but I'd start with a question. I mean, everybody.
I might be able to form it into a question.
Well, let's see how you do. Okay.
In the past, I've sort of experienced like on the spiritual path, like times when I felt like everything was failing for me, and I think it's sort of just like a test where it's like a leap of faith or something, where it's like just have to kind of get through it, and it's like afterwards there's more clarity on how the teacher is actually always pretty much like right, because I've tried.
Well, thanks. I'm following. I don't mean to mock you. Following what you're saying. Sometimes with my teachers, it looked peculiar, the things that were happening there, especially with COVID. I didn't know why he ignored me for years. But looking back on it, I could see that's the only way he could teach me, is to go right at the very area that I needed something and that he had, and that was his approval. And he was not going to give it to me. And that hurt. And so that helped me to finally see that part of my consciousness that wanted to be accepted, wanted to be loved or approved of. You have more?
I don't know.
Nor do I.
Joshi bowing.
Joshi, go ahead.
I was wondering, could you help me clarify what is meant by poking at the student and why so often that shows up as an aggressive act?
It's very aggressive. You know, if you or anyone else shows up as full of themselves and prideful, and yet I can see that you don't see that you just feel you're being genuine, and you've given me permission, or other people that have actually scurried off in the distance have given me permission. I might have tried other ways. I might have actually had a conversation, and in fact, in fiction, I know I have. I've said, you know, you have there's a lot of fluff going on there, and I've sometimes used someone's body language. I'll say every time you say something, you go like this, like that. I said that's only indicative of some kind of a cover up, and I'm just speculating here that it probably looks like it's pride, that you're covering up some aspect of your self-centeredness that you do not want to be seen. In other words, you are refusing to be vulnerable. It's easy for you to just hold forth and jabber away about the Dharma instead of, you know, it's just a way of talking about it. But yes, sometimes people get very angry. The downside of them getting angry is it doesn't feel very good. The upside is I probably have hit a nerve there that they might need to look at. Now, if they can't do that, if they keep shutting that out and blaming me for how they feel and accusing me of being an abusive person, probably is some abusiveness there. I thought it was very rude of Coben to ignore me. Anytime I would call me, he didn't slam the phone down, but he would say, "I'm busy. I've got something else. I have to hang up." I'd wait a while because I was so full of pride I couldn't even be insistent about it, and come back. No, I really want to be your student. Instead, I would be a month or two later, maybe I'd call again. And then if he put me off even the slightest bit, you know, I'm okay, I'm done. And then eventually I actually thought, believe this or not, I actually thought that maybe he thinks I'm already enlightened. That's a large helping of pride right there. Maybe he thinks I'm already enlightened and I don't need a teacher anymore. Yeah, sure.
Shoshibawa. Is that aggressive approach? Is that the most direct way to point out one's pride?
It's different with each person. If there's a method for it, if you're a teacher and you have a method for how to point that out, you're not a teacher. You might be a history teacher. You might be a psychologist. You might be anybody. You're not a Dharma teacher. Does not operate out of standards or protocols or particular forums. They operate out of whatever shows up. They're not separate with what shows up. So if there's a student there and there's someone who is who's functioning as a teacher, if that student shows up, then the teacher is choiceless for the teacher to function. You know, you've interacted with me enough to know what that's about. I've taken a few swipes at you, haven't I?
Indeed. Well, that comes back to my question is, what is this? What do you mean? What can you explain to me what poking is?
Poking is, I'll tell you what it is. What was your name again? Smiling Lion. Didn't I give you that name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you certainly did. Yeah.
Well, how many years ago was that?
8 years.
Where the hell you been?
Here.
Yeah, I bet. So what is that? That's helping you to see the way that you turn in and support a self, a shiny, polished person who can win, who can avoid losing, who can present well, and who can never be embarrassed about anything because they're always pretty much correct. Maybe not always, because there's some kind of underlying pride there that says, well, I'm not always right. Haven't you ever said that? Well, I'm not always right, dear. Come see, come saw.
Yeah.
That's that smiling lion right there. Yeah, so I got a couple of other questioners. See, Koshin, you have something, and then I'll go to Gabe.
Koshin bowing. So I'm a bit hesitant to chime in on the general topic because I, relatively speaking, have not been here as long. But for me, it's been heartbreaking to see the challenges that have been experienced. And at the same time, it rings familiar. So I've been at multiple different sanghas. Professionally, I had to move around quite a bit, and I can't think of one that hasn't gone through really significant challenges at one point or another.
Yes.
Sometimes multiple hurdles to go through, and it's heartbreaking, and it's tough to see. And I just would like to express too that I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for being a part of this sangha. The both the depth and the accessibility of the teachings I've not seen, and so again, I have a lot of gratitude for being a part of this sangha, and it feels hard being remote. I would like to support in ways, and if there's ways that I or other folks interested that are remote can provide more support for the sangha, please let me know.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always receiving if we can. You offer, we receive. So certainly, Nathan.
Nathan Bowing. It's just speaking to Ando's earlier question about your long-term students leaving you.
Yes.
I had a situation I kind of related to you earlier where, on the farm, we had this employee that was very dedicated that, was with us for 7 years. And, he came to us this fall and told us, he wouldn't be coming back next season.
A little louder, please. So.
Oh, that he wouldn't be able to come back next season. And, a lot of it's just, I think he couldn't take the stress anymore. It's like, it's very hard being dedicated to, it's different, with this path, but being dedicated to something like that year after year. And also just seeing the dedication of, Chris and I to the farm.
Yes.
And him just feeling very stressed, not being able to match that.
Sure.
And I know there is something that Jason shared with me before I left, and that was his admiration for your dedication to teaching the Dharma, and how he felt very, very stressed about being able to match that level of dedication and
Yeah.
time, you know, that you give to students.
I'm not surprised to hear that, but thank you for sharing that with
So-
a year ago.
I guess if I definitely I have a question in this too, is you know, I mean, going forward, like just being able to share that, you know, with other like employees of ours that they don't need to have that level of dedication.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you have anything?
I'm not sure how I would say I don't have a past or future, so therefore I don't see myself as someone else might see me, or going to see me however you see me. I don't see anyone. It's not a bragging point. Oh, I'm so wonderful. I've transcended my personal self. No, I haven't. I just see this an illusion, and so is yours. But if you think your thoughts and ideas and beliefs and opinions are real and have some kind of density that you're required to force them or live up to something, and he was trying to live up to standards. Very difficult for him. It was a hard time. He's a very, very dedicated practitioner. I'm sure he still will be. He'll continue to practice, whether he needs another teacher or not. That would be up to him. Oh, what he does. But yes, a similar kind of area, not a spiritual path, but it's a farm is a hell of a lot of hard work. So is a Sangha, a lot of hard work, as you know. You probably can't wait to get out of here, right? Making you do all kinds of stuff.
I'm glad doing punishment.
You got you jumping off buildings at a single bound.
Going up.
Yeah. Gabe, go ahead.
Gabriel bowing. Is our suffering an illusion?
Yes.
When we see,
you can't point to anything. A self, a record player, a chimney, leaves falling off a tree. Can't find anything that is real. It is all illusory. It is vividly unreal, as it says in the Sadhana Mahamudra, vividly unreal and emptiness, yet there is still form. Very, very convincing. And that being convincing convinces us that there's someone who's experiencing that, and there is not. There's just consciousness only. It's just an astonishing realization, and it's available to you 15 inches away from your nose. It's right here. And so I recommend that you all sit and face the wall as much as you can. We're going to do it for a whole month, every day, all day long, or as much as we can. Further questions in here before I go to down here? Natsumi.
Natsumi bowing. What is the urgency to see the truth?
Because death is coming. This ending of this physical form that you or me or all of us think is so real and so substantial, this is unreal. And as soon as this goes back into the elements of earth, air, fire, water, then the consciousness is dispersed. It's not a thing, so it's not dispersed in the sense of helium gas or something like that. It's dispersed in the sense that it never was separate from anything. But it comes together, magically comes together in the form of a human form, which you are temporarily, which Unyo is, or Milk is, or I am temporarily. And it seems so real, seems so vivid, so convincing. We have a life, and we have a third grade, and our best friend in high school, and how we got a flat tire on the way to our graduation. I didn't, but you probably did. You see what I'm saying? It's just such an incredible illusion. We can go back with our memory and locate areas that convince us that happened. That did not happen. And what happens 3 weeks from now, you have to remember it if you want to know about it. You cannot imagine it. Remembering the past, remembering the future, not two different things. If you can do that, you'll see there is no present moment. There is no, this is unreal. You can be right here in the middle of this and still get some coffee, smoke a cigarette. Well, you probably shouldn't do that. But you can hang out. You can enjoy your life, and you can enjoy the people in your life in the midst of their difficulty and their suffering, and appreciate them. This doesn't mean obey them. It doesn't mean go along with them or make sure they don't dislike you. So the urgency comes from sickness, aging, and death. It's coming. Death comes without warning, and it can happen tomorrow, next week. Some of us are sitting around saying, okay, let's get on with it. It doesn't sound so bad. It's a difficult life. Very hard. But while you're here, while you're still in a human form, in the illusion, train this illusion to see clearly so that that which is not an illusion, consciousness, is liberated from the belief that there's a body, speech, mind complex called a human being that can live or die, or can go into the future, go into the past, or can have future lives. All that stuff is illusory. More?
Not see me bowing. What is there to look at when there is empathy for the illusion?
Empathy?
Yes.
Let's see that that's unreal. Empathy for the illusion is not compassion. Compassion has no compassionator and nothing to be compassionate about. It's completely empty. And that can only come out of wisdom. If it comes out of some kind of figuring things out or trying to be good, or trying to make sure that you don't look bad or you don't look uncompassionate, or that someone else feels that you're a very compassionate person. This is just you might just be living in a funny book or comic book. This is unreal. It's not that you can't live in a comic book, but if you're aware of it, then it seems to work okay, especially if it's, Star Trek or something like that, which you probably would like that, Star Trek.
Thank you.
So we don't have to get rid of the illusion. That's the amazing thing. You can actually live. You can live as the gunslinger in Stephen. What was Stephen's last name? Klingman. Go ahead.
Kabowing. In that situation where empathy may be arising.
I'll get to you, Gabe. I haven't forgotten. Go ahead.
Empathy may be arising and we're trying to think of something to say, but you're saying compassion doesn't come from that. Where does the compassion come from?
It does not come from anywhere. It has no source. Just like a phoenix has no source. The phoenix just is the phoenix. The source is just a concept in your mind. Even the concept of a source has no source, other than you might have run into a few holes in the ground occasionally and think something came out of them. Imagination. We imagine all that. We create a world. Is that what you wanted to know? Or did I answer something you did not care about?
Kabowing.
What are you? Another one of your non-dual guys.
What is the compassion?
Compassion is wisdom that's on the move. You can to use it's just movement. Wisdom is just wisdom. It doesn't have something else over there and something else. Wisdom just sees wisdom, even if it does any seeing at all. Compassion doesn't go from here to there. It's not separate from anything. Stop covering it up. You can't really be compassion or be compassionate. You are compassion. You are wisdom. Well,
no.
Gabe.
Gabriel bowing. Where are we on the path when we see how we're suffering as an illusion?
You're at the place on the path where you're looking at everything and including your suffering, and you see that it's an illusion. That's where you're at.
Thank you. Bye.
Deb.
Deb bowing. In book study on Friday, there was a question that I believe, as I wrote it, from the question and answer that you were doing with students. And it was, is awareness a quality of the mind? I don't exactly remember the answer, but what I later heard you say is awareness just sees, tastes, and smells. So my question is, I think I'm trying to understand awareness in the thinking mind. Do I need to discern the difference, or will that just show up?
Well, I don't do or questions or too much, but I would just say just be aware.
Okay.
You may be aware of thoughts, you may be aware of any number of things, but awareness is you're just aware. You just see it, You smell it, you taste it, you just receive. It's a receiver. It's not a producer particularly. Just receive, receive, receive. You will not necessarily get the feeling you're getting somewhere. There is no distance happening there. Brian.
Ryan Bowing.
Ji-Shin.
Curious, did Chiazon take his ropes when he left?
Oh, no. He's a fully ordained transmitted priest. He left me as a teacher. He didn't leave, and he left this Sangha too. He made it very clear he's leaving this particular group of outriders because they're students of mine. And so they're all very uniquely individual and they're not easy to relate to. I know he had a great deal of difficulty with some people, and it was a very close and intimate with other people in the Sangha, but he had difficulty with Sangha people. He's generally, not to do anything other than describe, he's just a pretty subjective fellow, highly intelligent, highly insightful. And so, yeah, he's still, he could still, you could be a student of his. I'm sure he would shut the door on you. Not really, no. He might, I mean, I don't know. I doubt that he wants to be a teacher for a little while. He's probably going to give it a few years, a few months or something. And that, maybe he'll start a monastery and really nice, kind people will come there. That's sarcasm. I guess I have to define it for you. Ji-Shin, go ahead.
Ji-Shin Bowing. First of all, thank you for uncovering that elephant in the dark room, which felt extremely heavy, not knowing, and doesn't feel easier knowing now. I feel deep pain and sadness, and I cannot imagine how you feel and other people. So it is a situation for me like falling apart. And but I would like to say that I'm extremely grateful to you for your teachings and for whatever you showed over all of those years about how to be in the situation like this when things are falling apart. Just to return to my own insight, perception, and feelings, to not to get lost in that illusion completely. So thank you. I don't really have a question. I just would like to say that Sharon said in the box that in the light of your upcoming surgery is the stress of the elephants in the room affecting your health. I've been always concerned about your health, and I noticed that you were always very affected by events like this. So it's also my concern. Maybe you can address it.
Thank you. So, I would think it would be really great if you just say a few words about anything that's coming up to be helpful to other people who are here. Would you mind? How it's showing up for you? I know it's been difficult for you to see those two people leave our Sangha in such a way.
It's confusing. Seems to be the path.
You blame yourself for it?
Of course.
Does anyone blame Unyo? People are grinning. People are not blaming. I'm probably blaming me, if anyone. I'm the elephant in the room. What? Yeah, we have to try at some point to have a little bit of a sense of humor about this. It's just, life is very, very difficult. I'm suffering. I did my best. This is my apologia here. I did my best to help him as I saw it. And the chemistry between us I saw it when I met him when he was, 22? And it was very intense. And I've said this to a few people before. It's just, I could see it was not going to be easy to work with that gentleman. He's really smart, much smarter than I am. Not false humility at all. Smart, very smart. And these days has a hell of a lot better memory than I do, correcting me constantly. Go ahead.
So Bowing, if he wasn't particularly enlightened or anything, what about his confusion was workable enough that you saw to transmit him over any of your other students?
I don't know. I have some, I still have it. It's like, not a, it's like a, not a, like a spiritual son. When I met him, I could feel it. But I also could see it was going to be very challenging because of his particular, I don't mean to be taking his inventory. He's no longer a student of mine. And so you could just see it was going to be difficult. Maybe you could say it's my difficulty. I would have difficulty with him, rather than he had any difficulty with me. It's not separate. They're not two different things anywhere. There is no teacher. There is no student unless there's a student, unless there's a teacher. And those at some point, ideally, the idea is the mind of the teacher, the mind of the student, undifferentiated. They come together. Usually that doesn't happen because the student is so brilliant. I mean, I'm not saying that might not happen occasionally. Usually it's because the teacher is not so brilliant, but because they're a simpleton. They're not making up stuff about anything. What?
Show bowing. Would you rather see this fail as a spiritual community than succeed as something else?
I can answer that much better than that. I don't care what happens because I know there is no next. And you and most everybody else thinks that something else is going to happen, and it does not. It's an illusion. His Holiness the 16th Karmapa Rangjung Rigpi Dorje in 1981, as he was dying, said that to the Vajrayana Ursel Tenzin. Nothing happens. He was not bullshitting us. Nothing happens. The ultimate teaching out of the mouth of a sage. More?
Show bowing. When there's not a teacher in the community, can it still be a spiritual community?
Probably. There has to be some kind of inspiration, if only just the teachings of the Buddha. But very difficult to do that because it becomes political, as it does here quite often. It gets very political. We've seen it. We've seen community meetings where it becomes very political. Suddenly somebody's accusing somebody else, and it gets pretty horrible at times. So you really probably need some kind of a spiritual mentor, someone who has an aerial view of the whole thing, who is not concerned about outcomes, who is not trying to manipulate it as a corporation making money. So if you're concerned about money, you're not going to support the Community Mindfulness Center over there. It is a money sink for a while. But culturally, it's very necessary to extend our simple meditation practice, our awareness practice, highlighting that, emphasizing awareness into a community that's full of results, right and wrong, right down the street, right 3 doors away. People are all about right and wrong, correct and incorrect. You can hear the gunshots out here occasionally. I mean, it's not very much. It's not horrible, but it's not good. So I want to just offer that. So, but it's not going to make any money. So people aren't going to necessarily be on board with that. You know what I'm talking about.
Sanji,
Yes.
the elephants in the room, are they your elephants?
Sure. I have a whole flock of them. Is that what they call it? 15 or 20? No.
Are they elephants?
That's
Are
well,
they elephants?
No, they're
Are they-
just each with trunks. What do you want to know? You're going to try to be funny. You're going to be funny. You're going to be funny. Get ready.
Are they elephants because of right and wrong?
Yes.
Is there someone right and wrong
No.
in this particular case?
No.
Was it a failure of communication?
Ready? Don't do anything with this answer except receive it. No. No. That's relative. That's the relative world. The failure of communication, if you want to go that direction, I can tell you what it is. Don't listen. Stop listening. You want to fail. As soon as you open your big mouth, not just yours, but mine, communication stops. And just production. That's why I often say, sometimes at the end of the Dharma talk, forget everything I said. Go live your life. Enjoy yourself. Don't hurt others. Be respectful to people. Be kind.
Sanji bowing.
Come on, let me have it.
Is all these elements just duality?
Nah. Triplicity. Come on, quit setting me up. I'll fall over. You don't even have to set me up. Is there a final question that I have not heard from anybody?
Is your own pride involved in this?
Well, of course, I'm full of myself. Isn't it obvious? I don't think
Yeah.
I can talk about that. I'm about as puffy as you get. Me, 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 me. I'm the great Dharma teacher. Listen to what I'm saying. Go ahead. Listen to me. Don't believe what I'm saying. Don't ignore it. And I don't know, there's a couple other things in there I forget right now.
What do you do with that pride?
Shut up! I don't do anything with it. What do you do with it?
I look at it.
Oh, good for you. I'm glad.
I have a lot of it.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I think we're getting to the end of our railroad track here, but Shoshi, go ahead. I'll see if there's one from you and then maybe one from somebody in the Zendo.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The slogan, it keeps coming to mind in light of what's been going on in the Sangha is that in order to, how does it go? You need the teacher in order to leave the teacher, or is it you leave the teacher in order to need, I forget which comes first.
If you need, you have to have a teacher first before you can leave the teacher. And so, yeah, is that what Chiazan's doing?
Well, that's what I'm curious. Yeah. Well, how does that look to you? What is it?
Yeah, I'm not here again. I can be accused of being a terrible, let's see, Hondo's giving me kind of an askance look, like be careful what you say here, because it'll look like you're trying to what? What am I trying to do? Belittle Chiazan or something? First, you have to actually have a teacher in order to leave them. And you can't actually leave the teacher. What happens is you and the teacher are no longer separate. That's the ultimate understanding of it, put in very relative terms. You just see that it never was anybody but you. There was never anything but consciousness only. My teacher, Trungpa Rinpoche, has never gone anywhere. He's right here. Same with Kobun. The same with His Holiness the 16th and the 17th, whom I've never even met and is still alive. One question up here in here, if there is one. Okay, we can end. Thank you. Hopefully no more elephant talks.
My name is Mozuku, and I am one of Sokuzan's monks. Sokuzan's teachings and this community depend on your generosity, both through your participation and financially. If you value these teachings and this community, please consider donating on our website at sokukoji.org. Thank you so much.